We are delighted that you're joining us for another podcast of Wake Up Aligned, and it is the podcast for chiropractors where we get to talk about chiropractic lifestyle, and topics of interest. You can contact us through our email, and that is mailbag@amcfamily.com.
All right, well, welcome back to another episode of Wake Up Aligned. And whether or not you know this or not, this show is immediately following the last episode that I had with Dr. Zach Wilson. And as soon as the microphone went off, the last episode, we talked a lot about the journey you've been on, rediscovering the Napoleon Hill recordings.
That's right. We were talking about humble confidence, and that got us all enthusiastic and fired up.
And the next thing we know, the word enthusiasm came up, and we brought up Dr. Owen, my father, having the nickname of being Mr. Enthusiasm. And I thought we would just, it was like a bonfire started building. And I said, we just need to record this. So Dr. Zach, let's kind of jump right into what we were just talking about a couple of minutes ago about the importance of enthusiasm and bringing that to the office.
Like, everybody knows about enthusiasm, but the way Napoleon explained it was totally different than what I had framed it to be in my mind. So when I was listening to Napoleon Hill explain enthusiasm in such a way, it really empowered me to reframe it in my mind and understand, when I was taught by Dr. Owen, that phrase that enthusiasm is the yeast that raises the dough. Little low, no dough, right? And that's catchy. It's stuck with me. It rings correctly. But enthusiasm, we're underestimating it. If I could do nothing more than get all the offices that I help mentor and coach and teach, if I could just get them to approach their day with more enthusiasm, it would blow the doors off their clinic. And not only professionally, but it would allow them to see so much more, to have more fruits in their personal relationships with their family, their spouse, even with the Lord. Napoleon was talking about, how do you pray? Are you praying just like low energy solemnly, or are you putting enthusiasm into it? How do you do a staff meeting? Is it low and slow? Here's what we gotta go over, team. Or are you approaching your team meeting with enthusiasm and some excitement? Because if you can't bring that as a leader of your organization, of your clinic, your business, who else is going to do it? Once in a while, you might find a gem of a person that you hire on as an employee and a team member that just naturally brings that enthusiasm, but they are one in a million. I'm talking about what we can consistently apply to every business that you can conceive of. You have to bring genuine, true enthusiasm. So when you start your day, start it with more enthusiasm for the fact that you're even breathing and sucking wind today, that the Lord gave you a day, right? Have that authentic enthusiasm towards it all. Are you enthusiastic towards your kids? And one of the exercises that Hill suggested you do is 10 minutes a day, read a book with as much enthusiasm in your voice as you could possibly muster. And that will train you to just naturally be more enthusiastic with everything. Well, that's a pretty cool exercise. So all of you listeners out there that have children, what more would your children love than you pick a kid's book and read that thing like you mean it? Read it with some enthusiasm. Put the life back in that thing. Your kids are going to love that experience. Show up to the office. Greet your team when they show up in the parking lot with some enthusiasm. Watch them be lit. Watch their fire get lit. Look how they perform that day. It'd be like nothing you've ever seen before. Do a team meeting with some excitement, enthusiasm, and see how much more productive it is. See how much more your whole team walks away just ready to rock the next shift.
That kind of goes back to this like the daily routine in the first place. I remember the first time it was Dr. Tom Barney. He asked me to record. He goes, "This daily routine thing you talk about, Tom," he goes, "I think you need to do a recording on that." And I'm like, "What? What do you mean? Doesn't everybody do the daily routine? Doesn't everybody get up early and have quiet time? Doesn't everybody create affirmations?" Because you're absolutely right. And you know what? Don't forget, I was raised by my father, and my father was very close friends with, Napoleon Hill. I only knew how to start. I understand how to start and manage and operate businesses, but I only know one way
I believe that.
to bring. If you don't bring it as a business owner, who the heck is?
That's exactly right.
Utilizing that time, all these years managing offices, the one thing that if you wanted to get my ire up and get it up quick is when I hear about doctors getting to their office 5 to 10 minutes before the first patient is seen.
Yeah.
Do you know what that tells me? That tells me that practice ain't going nowhere. It doesn't matter how much marketing I do. It doesn't. You're not committed because you're not bringing any expectation. What you're talking about is enthusiasm breeds higher expectations.
Absolutely.
If you have high expectations, you're more likely. In fact, it's the only way that you can get high results. Now, medium expectations will typically bring you low results. Medium expectations is it's going to be a good week. We got some advertising working. It's going to,
and that's where a lot of people will ride is that medium expectation.
Yeah, it's that mediocrity because, Joe Charbonneau, one of my old mentors, used to taught that only 12% of the general population can even think and operate on a visionary or leadership level. That means 88% of the people that I know can't. 88% at best are waiting for their ship to come in. They're living in the bucket of mediocrity, right? The crabs in the bucket process. And they're just going through life. And you know what? There's good people going through life. There's good salt of the earth people, but they're not the leaders.
That's right.
And you are the owner of a chiropractic practice. And if you're not excited about it, if you're not passionate, that's another word that we could use. When was the last time you revisited why you do what you do? That's why the staff meeting, an aligned AMC staff meeting, you mentioned that a minute ago, bringing your team together. Well, what's the staff meeting? Why do you think it's built that way? The staff meeting is not a complaint session. It's not a chance to, okay, one more time, let's go through it. How many patients do we have on the schedule today?
I think a lot of doctors deliver their team meetings that way.
I know,
just like drudgery.
But it's supposed to be, look, very few people are looking for a job. And if I've got a staff member that's just looking for a job, I don't want them in my office in the first place.
That's right.
I want somebody that wants to be a part of a bigger purpose.
And that's funny because we're going through hiring process right now in our clinic. And the last 4 interviews that we've conducted are people in healthcare at the local hospital system. And the only reason that they're looking to get out of their position and look for something different is because there's no purpose in what they're doing.
People don't want to punch a clock.
No.
They want to be a part of something bigger than themselves.
That's right.
And if you as the doctor are not giving some, and I kind of jumped around here. First of all, I mentioned daily routine. I mean, if you're not rising early, giving some pre-thought to your day, the odds are it's not going to be all that great.
Now Tom, you take this all for granted because you're raised this way. Now, it's not just going through the steps of a good daily routine or a good routine within the clinic or your business. We're talking about delivering the daily routine, a good solid daily routine with enthusiasm,
correct,
with excitement, with some passion and energy to it, right? Because you were raised by your father or your mom and dad, but your father was, as I've heard him described, Mr. Enthusiasm. And so I don't think you realize how other people have been raised. Not everyone had Mr. Enthusiasm as their dad. And so they don't understand the concept that they have to be the one that brings that. You just naturally do it. You just naturally apply that level of energy, enthusiasm, and passion to your daily routine, to every business endeavor that you've got, how you interact with teams and staff, and you just do that naturally. But it's not on accident. It's because it was drilled into you. Repetition, repetition, repetition. Every day, I'm sure your dad had an influence on you of some level of enthusiasm when it comes to those aspects of life. And so if we could get every chiropractor out there to start their day not only with a good, solid daily routine, but to do that routine with true, authentic enthusiasm, it would change their day so dramatically they wouldn't understand why they would ever go back.
What you just described is not everybody had a Dr. Owen as their father, right? And that's true. And guess what? My father wasn't perfect either.
Nope.
Right? So there was shortcomings that he had as just as much as there's shortcomings I have. But there's only one way that I know, and it's worked for many, 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 many years. So the listener's like, well, I'm not like that. I wasn't raised like that. Okay, be careful. Be real careful. Be careful. Neither was Dr. Owen. That's absolutely correct.
You got to make the decision to put that into life, to be that person. Dr. Owen was not raised, as he told me, he was not raised by Mr. Enthusiasm himself.
No, he didn't even have a father.
He became that by intentionally becoming that. Mm-hmm. And so I don't care what your background is. My background was not enthusiasm in your day, no matter what. It's something that you have to learn and develop and practice until it becomes embedded so deep in your core that it is your day, that it is your new you.
But when you see it, you have to, like you're saying, there has to be a moment in time where you go, that's what I want.
Yeah.
Right? You have to have that purpose, a drive to want to do that. Because some people think of enthusiasm and they think of a dancing clown.
No,
it's called passion.
Oh, man.
It's called finding your purpose, finding your place, right? And you say that just comes natural to me, like I've said, said before, my wife's with me this weekend where we're recording this. And, she knows that over the years, I've had a lot of business opportunities pop up. I mean, it just is what it is. You rub elbows and the opportunities come up. I don't get excited about them. I'm not enthusiastic about it. It might be a great financial business opportunity or investment, but I'm not excited. I'm excited about things that my purpose is. When I get that spark inside of me, it's easy for me to get really enthusiastic about it. When I know I'm in the right place at the right time, serving the right people with the right message, filling the right need, it's easy for me. You're right. It is there to be enthusiastic about it. But what I want to say to the listener is, okay, well, how do you become enthusiastic? You said not everybody was raised that way. Well, I know one aspect of the daily routine. Okay. There's the getting there early. There's the walking through the office and speaking out your expectations and doing a walkthrough. That's a good one. That's a great thing. There's the quiet time, but there's only one way I know to speak to the windows of your soul, because that's what you're talking about. You're talking about the programming inside of you, and you have to learn. And if you don't know how to do this, folks, that's what I'm here for. That's what Dr. Zach's here for. That's what the Align family's here for, is, well, how do I determine what I want? How do I determine how to become excited about it? Well, some of it just comes right down to speaking that to yourself, affirmations. Because if you can't affirm it to yourself, you're never going to affirm it to your team.
That's a good point.
Right? You've got to be able to speak it out. There's power in the tongue. There's life and death in the tongue, according to the word I read. And if you're constantly speaking the negativity, you're speaking scarcity, you're speaking mediocrity, that just breeds more of it, right? It's literally like rabbits. Thoughts are like rabbits. And you're breeding that mediocrity into the point of you lose it's almost like you become numb, to where that's how you get into that process of I'm just going through the motions. Let's come in and have a staff meeting this morning.
Then maybe I hope this podcast wakes people up a little bit, because this podcast is for chiropractors, the chiropractic profession. We have got the greatest profession on earth. The transformations and the life-changing things that we get to witness in our offices is unmatched anywhere else in this world, in my opinion. If you can't find that enthusiasm or that passion within chiropractic, man, maybe you need to second guess what you're doing in life. Because like you said, you're not just walking around like a little poodle jumping around all excited and giddy on everything in your day. But when something becomes congruent with your passion, with your purpose, then that enthusiasm shines. I'm saying we need, in this profession, to get back to realizing how great of a profession we've got. That, get back to what inspired you to even go to chiropractic school and go through all the effort of getting licensed and opening an office and doing what you do. There's a lot of commitment that went into that. You need to step back if you're losing it, and you need to step back and reignite that passion, because that's going to be the fuel for the enthusiasm to stick around.
Now you're hitting on something here, Dr. Zach, that we can't finish the show off without digging a little deeper on. See, what you just said is they have to reignite. They have to rediscover. The problem is that we are closing in on 50 years post musculoskeletal box. The first 83 years of chiropractic was built on a corrective care basis. The people that went to jail carrying the torch
and we're
back in the 60s and 70s. And there is an identity crisis inside of chiropractic, and they're going to school and they're coming out and they're wondering exactly what they are. They're glorified physical therapists. I've heard that comes out. Look, that's not coming out of Tom Owen's mouth. That's coming out of chiropractors' mouths.
We're hearing that more and more from docs that are coming to AMC.
If they don't know, if they don't have that fire, if they've never been introduced to that purpose, if they don't discover that identity, now if they did, because if they don't, what future do they have? What do they have to get excited about? If you're going to be that glorified physical therapist practicing that pain model where they're coming and going, roller coaster practice all the time, you're grinding it out, you're having to market all the time, there's no reward, the patients don't stay, pay and refer, there's no referrals, right? So you're constantly just working. I can see how that could burn you out, and it's hard to get excited. But that's not if you really want to discover it, right? You might just need to dig down and find a Zach Wilson. You need to find a Dr. Greg Miller. You need to find a Dr. Todd Osborne, a Dr. Andre Dalliers, a Dan Yachter, and we can just go on and on and on. Mm-hmm. You find the people that resemble and go, what exactly is that you have? Can you introduce it to me? Because it's not a lot to get excited about if you don't have that big burning passion.
I must
purpose.
Have been taking that for granted. I had never thought about all of those docs out there that never had that to begin with.
Correct. I mean, I know you came out and you're very passionate about your technique, right? CBP, right?
That's right.
So, I mean,
yeah.
What I'm saying is, if you don't have it to begin with,
you better get yourself around those who do.
All right, and
find them.
And you need to find them. And there's a big conglomerate of them right here inside the Aligned family.
That's right.
And how often? I mean, you've been around a long time. How many times have you seen people come to AMC and they you ask them like 6 months in or a year in and say, how many are getting better results from their, with their chiropractic patients since implementing or executing parts of the AMC system? And almost all the hands go up, right?
That's right.
And then I ask you, and I'd ask anybody in the class, say, well, has AMC ever taught chiropractic?
Nope.
The answer is no. But when you learn what a systematic approach where people stay around long enough and they're not dropping out all the time because we're giving the patients a different reason to be in for more of a corrective care wellness model, even the chiropractor that doesn't have the core identity starts discovering, oh, wow, there's more to this than what I thought there was. And then there's just there's that identity of people are coming to Aligned and they're discovering what chiropractic is because they get to rub elbows with a guy like you. And they say, they didn't tell me that in school. And I'm not going to name the school, okay, or these schools.
Oh, it would be
plural.
a list.
It would be all of them, basically. And I know every school's going to say, that's not true. Yes, it is. When you're taking X-ray out of the clinics,
that's right.
Right, and philosophy is a dead word, an evil word.
That's right. I heard just today that it has been renamed to chiropractic theory class at one of the schools.
Wonderful. So don't be surprised that there's a lack of identity, and if you don't have the identity, you don't have the drive, you don't have the purpose. It's not big enough to get excited about. But man, when you get it. And you talked about me, and for example, right? My drive purpose, what I get excited about is just that, because I realize the longer I've been around, I'm watching what I grew up around, the Bill Harrises, the Boutwells, and the Jim Revels, and all these people. These men and women fought the good fight. I mean, I actually knew people I knew of people, I had met them, but they weren't like close friends, but I knew the people that went to jail. Zach,
that requires
the average graduate that's coming out of school right now, would they go to jail for it? Probably not. There's people that fought the good fight to give us an opportunity to carry the torch, and then we're bastardizing it. And in process, what this show has turned into is talking about, well, how do you bring enthusiasm? Well, if it's not very exciting and there's no big purpose behind it, it's just because there's some people that are going to school. You said that. Why did they become a chiropractor? Well, it used to be they had a chiropractic experience at some time in their life. They had, chiropractic cross their paths and they went to school because of something.
Sure.
Now they're going to a career event day. And they're being shown, here's an easier path.
Here's an easy path to make a lot of money. And there's people going to school for that. And if they don't discover chiropractic while they're there, what's there to get excited about? So folks, if that's you, right? That's a big pill. That's a big bite. Yes, it is.
To chew on. But
and I feel bad for those people. If you're one of those people listening and I have no passion, like I don't have what Tom was just talking about. It was never given to me. It's never shown to me. It's not why I got into chiropractic in the first place. Reach out. Reach out to AMC. Aligned is here for you.
Absolutely. There's a whole army, a family of people.
Reach out to me.
That's doing it. Absolutely.
Holy cow.
Yeah. Where do you practice?
Waterloo, Iowa.
There's chiropractors there?
Oh.
Do people live there or just cows? Waterloo sounds like it, right? Just
we
cattle.
Adjust anything that holds still.
If they pay, we adjust, right? Absolutely. Dr. Zach, this was a good one, man. I'm telling you, this
having fun.
I did not see where that one was going, but it was just something that you said. I'm like, well, wait a minute. That's assuming they even identify with something that they could have a passion about. And that's why there's so many of them that are just going through the mundane, and then they're caught in that horrible pain model, that churn and burn.
Tom, you know we're here for those that don't have that passion. There is no ember at which to reignite. But I want to finish the podcast today speaking directly to those that do. because we've got a lot of chiropractors out there that are not part of the AMC family, but there's also a lot of you listening that are. I'm going to encourage you, relight that fire. Bring that enthusiasm back into the day. Start with your daily routine. Like you said earlier, you might have to affirm that in the mirror that you are enthusiastic for quite some time before that becomes what it is in your new reality, but then do it. Then do it. Bring the enthusiasm to your weekly meetings. Bring the enthusiasm to your daily meetings with your team. Start your days. How about this? If you're an AMC Align member, then you're familiar with the cheer. How enthusiastic is your cheer? How about you put the fire back in that thing within your clinic and see what it does to your team? Because I'm telling you, we've done it in my clinic. It would blow your mind to be a part of our morning huddles when we do the cheer and our affirmations in the office and we get ready to rock patients. Because we've been bringing that enthusiasm and it's been a game changer.
And I know we're running up against the clock here, but we've spent the vast majority of this of how to start the day, how to bring the enthusiasm and excitement to the beginning of the day. But you also missed the opportunity to Align members. How do you maintain the enthusiasm throughout your day? Well, first of all, you should have affirmations. You should have the old It Works book kind of thing, stuff happening at lunchtime. But I'll give you one that if you don't have it, you want to ignite the passion of you and your team. Bring a comparative report to somebody that's made it to the 10 visits and talk about where they started and where they are now and where they're projected to go to. Bring that to your morning or weekly staff meetings. Talk about the success stories. Another one is, how many of you are collecting testimonials, handwritten testimonials from the patients when the patients are reporting to the staff or you, and you say, you know what? That's important what you just shared. Would you mind sitting down and just jotting that down? Write that out for me.
That is a
or how about teach to
booster.
testify? See, inside the AMC system, I'm talking to my Align family right now. Where can you find excitement and get excited about it? Are you doing the teach to testify? Are you letting your patients testify in your office and then you get to hear it? And guess who else gets to hear it? Not only does your patients get to hear it, your staff gets to hear it. You get to hear it. That's the reason to get excited, is because you're changing people's lives and you get to do that all day long.
Like it's already built into the system.
Isn't that something? It's like somebody planned that. I don't know. It's like
the guy that came up and developed the system was Mr. Enthusiasm himself.
Could be. Could be. Hey, Dr. Zach, man, this is awesome class. I mean, awesome class, awesome show. And folks, I think we're going to wrap it up for the day, but he covered a lot, and this would be a good one to go back and listen to, because there was different segments of this show where we kind of drilled down into different areas. So, it really is. It comes down to nothing's going to be accomplished by your patients bringing the enthusiasm. If you're waiting for the patients to bring the enthusiasm to the practice, you're going to be waiting a long time. And if you're trying to hire somebody that's enthusiastic so they can bring enthusiasm to the practice, you're going to be looking and waiting a long time. You've got, as the leader, as the owner of this practice, you've got to figure out is, why do I do what I do? And the bigger the why, typically the bigger the need that's answered. So I encourage you to identify that. And if you haven't, depending on what side of the fence you're on there, the key is to tune into it, find that purpose, and develop it into a bigger and bigger fire. Because, Dr. Osborne will say, folks, when you're on fire, people come to watch you burn, baby. So with that, folks, we just love and appreciate you. I enjoy doing this show each and every week for you. Hopefully you got something out of this, that maybe you've been motivated or inspired, and maybe you're a little bit more enthusiastic this week. So go make a great week out of it, change lives, and we'll talk to you next week. God bless.
Follow our show. You can share it with friends, of course, and we'd love for you to contact us at mailbag@amcfamily.com. In addition, you're always invited to attend or join us at a summit. Of course, registration is required. And we would love for you to check out the loads of free content we provide to social media every single week. Until next time.